Welcome to episode 9 of Truck Case Mentor. I'm Fred Burkey, and this is part 2 of our series on depositions. Let's dive in. Number 4, collect all of the important documents. What you're going to find is the defendant is going to push you to delay the case, not give you all of the documents you need to question witnesses, and therefore you're not going to have the benefit of all the information that could be used to gain powerful admissions. You're going to need all the ammunition you can get and all the relevant documents in order to adequately gain the admissions you need from the defendants. So insist and push hard and get all of your written discovery. Number 5, identify a legal theory. You're going to want to work with your recon expert and your standards expert to identify legal theories in the case. Your recon expert is going to give you things about how the driver caused the crash. It's going to be the direct contributing factors, the things that we're most likely going to focus on when we first get into a case. Your standards expert is going to give you a deeper kind of view of why the case happened. I've talked about that in some of my prior episodes. The why is always going to be critical. The why is going to explain the system failure, the things that the motor carrier should have done but didn't do, and all of the things that the motor carrier failed to do that ultimately led up to the crash. All of those red flags that the defendant ignored begin to build up into a systemic failure that threatens to repeat itself. And the jury is going to find that very compelling and will want to act. So you need to find that. You need to develop these legal theories in advance with your expert team. And then you need to gain and craft admissions that you can use to establish these legal theories in your key depositions in a truck case. Number 6, identify all the admissions you need. Identify the admissions you need well in advance of the deposition. Be certain to focus on these admissions as the key point of questioning for all of the witnesses in your truck case. Each witness is going to add several different things to the overall picture of the case, and each of these defendants is going to have its own separate set of admissions that you'll need to gather. Examples for different witnesses in a truck case that you might not necessarily be aware are going to be the dispatcher, who is often the driver's supervisor, or a dedicated supervisor, a trainer who is responsible, as it may sound, for training and establishing the motor carrier's safety policies with the driver and making certain that the driver complies with all of these standards and operating procedures, the CFO, and even the CEO. And let me tell you a thing about the CEO. Now, the defense attorneys are always going to vigorously resist putting their CEO up for a deposition. They are going to throw things in your way, such as the Apex Doctrine, which is a doctrine developed in the federal system to prevent major CEOs of companies like Ford Motor Company and so forth from being compelled to testify in depositions under the theory that, gosh, they're just too busy running a huge corporation and they don't necessarily have the information and the granular level to be able to take the time from their work and talk to you in a deposition. But it is worth the effort because CEOs are an interesting group. They are used to being the commanders in charge. They don't take guff from anyone, and they're not scared of you. And by virtue of that fact, and the fact that they can often be cowboys, particularly in the truck industry, they can give you some damaging admissions because they just don't have a filter. So wherever possible, seek to sit down with the CEO and ask him difficult questions that he will find hard to answer, such as, if you had it to do over again, would you have done the same thing or would you have made a change? A lot of times you're going to put together some pretty damaging evidence before you sit the CEO for a deposition, and he's going to say things like, I wouldn't have done anything different. And that's going to lead to some pretty powerful feelings on the jury. Number 7, draft an outline for your depositions. Now, I think a lot of people fall into the trap of creating a very detailed script of each question that they intend to ask a witness. It's really not good for trial, and it's certainly not good for a deposition because you get chained to that script, and all you're focused on, if you're following a script, is what you're going to say next. Really, the most important thing you can do is listen to your witness. And the only way you're going to be able to do that effectively is to have an outline of what you intend to achieve in your deposition, have it internalized so that then you can focus and listen to the witness and naturally follow what he is saying and be able to follow up with questions of your own. What I like to do and what I recommend is you create a list of objectives. After you've done the work, as I've suggested in some of the earlier points, what you should be doing is crafting a list of objectives that sometimes might total, say, 10 items, some key admissions you're going to need that support your theories. Have those in your mind. I like to have them on iNotes in my MacBook or on my iPad. I use iPads really for depositions, and they're on the top of my outline, and so it kind of refreshes as I'm doing the deposition, and I can see those objectives that I need to achieve. Only use a scripted question if you need to gain a precise admission, and we're going to have some of those precise admissions in any case, things that are going to be tied technically to points of law, and only then should you be asking a scripted question. Otherwise, you're going to want to, as I say, focus on listening to the witness and following loosely based on your deposition outline. Number 8, listen to your witness. I made huge advancements in my practice years ago when I finally let loose of my need to follow a script, and I just focused on being in the moment and listening carefully to what the witness was saying. Not only what he is saying, but how he is saying it, what's his emotional context, how is he conveying how he feels at the moment, and what is it that he's saying, and more importantly, what is it that he's not saying. Allow your natural curiosity to follow up on those questions that are rising in your mind once you are listening to the witness and you have some sort of question in your mind as to, well, what's the next logical question that kind of follows what the witness just told me. Thanks for listening to this episode of Truck Case Mentor. If you have any questions or if there's just any way I can help, don't hesitate to reach out. Fred at TruckCaseMentor.com. Thanks for listening.